49ers have made another trade. I had to take a red-eye flight, took a nap this morning. It's almost afternoon where I'm at. Mike calls me, wakes me up, and says, "Hey, I know that we've got a Feliciano video out right now, but Brian Robinson Jr., the running back, has been traded to the 49ers. This is not all that shocking because we knew that Washington wanted to trade away the 26-year-old running back. And we know that the 49ers have a good relationship with Adam Peters and the Washington front office. And guess what? Washington is paying a good chunk of Brian Robinson Jr.'s $3.6 million salary for the 2025 season. And that was important for the 49ers to make this trade for somebody who's going to be running back 2/3 for them. Let's make the ceremonial addition to the 49ers depth chart of Brian Robinson Jr. Where is he going to fit in? Well, last night, I did my 53-man roster projection. And on that 53-man roster projection, I noted that the 49ers normally take 4 running backs on their 53-man roster, not including Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback. And as it stood, it was Christian McCaffrey, Isaac Guerendo, and Jordan James, the rookie out of Oregon. I said that maybe if they want to really have 4 like they usually do, maybe Jeff Wilson Jr. gets a bump up from the right side to the left. But I also said maybe they'll trade for somebody like Brian Robinson Jr. Well, Brian Robinson Jr., welcome to the 49ers. We'll move Jordan James. Yeah, I think we should move Jordan James down to here. I think that's a fair spot for him. And then Brian Robinson Jr.'s name, I'm going to slot him behind Isaac Guerendo. But what I think the 49ers have a 2A and a 2B now on this football team. Guerendo and Robinson are 2 different types of players. And that Robinson's going to be more of an inside zone runner for the 49ers. And we'll take a look at his relative athletic score and everything now just to show you. And we'll talk about his running style. But Guerendo is more of a receiving weapon on top of the fact that he's also a running back. I mean, Guerendo, that's the ideal backup for Christian McCaffrey as far as versatility goes. Brian Robinson Jr. is going to bring a little bit more of a bruising style to the 49ers. 2022 third-round draft pick out of Alabama. Here we have Brian Robinson Jr.'s athletic profile. In case you haven't noticed yet, the 49ers really, really like players with an elite 10-yard split. Look at Brian Robinson. 1.53 10-yard split at 225 pounds is something. This is actually similar to the Sky Moore profile in that he's got an elite 10-yard split, but his agility grade isn't very good. Doesn't have a good short shuttle, doesn't have a good 3-cone, but he can get out of the gate really fast. He can get downhill really fast. So you combine the 1.53 10-yard split with a 225-pound weight, and you've got a truck. You've got somebody who can accelerate with a lot of mass in a very short period of time. Doesn't have the wiggle of an elite all-around back like Christian McCaffrey. Doesn't have the long-term straight line speed of an Isaac Guerendo who's at a 4.3/4.4. He's at 4.53 on the 40. But those first few steps from Brian Robinson Jr. are very, very explosive. And that can fit in this 49ers running back room. Again, go back to who they have in that room right now. And you will see that they have a 220-plus pounder in Guerendo. They have McCaffrey, who's all-world. They've got Jordan James, who isn't 220, but is built like a brick. He's built like Devontae Freeman. He's 5'8", 200-plus pounds. I mean, he is a ball of muscle. So you've got real physicality in this room because now Brian Robinson Jr. with that 225-pound downhill frame with the explosion that the 49ers really, really like. I mean, Guerendo's got it too. McCaffrey obviously has everything. But that explosion, I think, really helps the 49ers with the power component of their run game in the context of a larger room, right? It's never been about just one running back in the Kyle Shanahan system. That have to have a stable of these guys because they get hurt. And I think one of the reasons the 49ers running backs get hurt so often is because they are both powerful and explosive. So they are power runners who seek out contact, yet they're also moving really quickly. That is a recipe for little car accidents happening on the field. It's the 49ers' physical brand of running the football. And maybe they have a physical brand of playing football, especially relative to a lot of other teams. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why their injury rates tend to be higher than the rest of the league. But especially at running back, we have seen the 49ers go through a lot of these players. And I think it's because of the very aggressive, physical, and simultaneously fast style that the 49ers play, which goes back to my original point. This is why the 49ers have always carried 4 running backs plus Kyle Juszczyk on the 53-man roster. That's where Brian Robinson Jr. fits in. Now, key point is that Washington is picking up a chunk of his $3.6 million salary. Robinson is in the final year of his rookie contract because he has been over 700 yards in all 3 of his seasons. Here are the stats for Brian Robinson Jr. from 2022, 2023, 2024. You could see there's been some consistency here, and the average per carry has actually increased. The touchdowns have increased. That's not a bad trend for Brian Robinson Jr., but he's been over 700 yards, nearly 800 yards twice in his NFL career. So really, really, for a running back 2/3, which is, and I think that Isaac Guerendo is going to be deployed creatively by the 49ers too. I think you could split him out. You could run a lot of 2-back sets if you're San Francisco. But these types of numbers for Brian Robinson Jr. are indicative of somebody who can produce downhill in the run game. Somebody who can complement Christian McCaffrey in a room that needs bodies so you could take a load off of your top guy. The goal for the 49ers has been to allow Christian McCaffrey a little bit more of a breather, especially as his career goes on. The problem standing in the way of that has been that they haven't particularly trusted the situation behind him. I think it was Guerendo, once he finally got healthy and ready to go last year, but Christian McCaffrey, obviously, his availability didn't coincide with that. It was Guerendo who was the first back in a while, and the 49ers said, okay, we can trust him to run the same route tree as Christian McCaffrey. He's got a receiver's background. He can go out there and he could truly spell Christian, and now the 49ers can add the punch on top of that. I mean, Patrick Taylor Jr. might have held this role for a little while for San Francisco before he got hurt and sent to injured reserve with the fractured shoulder. That happened in the game against the Raiders. He dislocated and he fractured his shoulder, so he's going to have surgery. So he's done for the year. But Patrick Taylor Jr. was a known commodity for the 49ers. He's a minimum salary type of player, veteran, good pass protector. Brian Robinson Jr. is going to give the 49ers a higher ceiling at that running back position. And I will say that in the big picture of things, the 49ers, that we've seen him make 2 moves now this week, right? We've seen him make a move for a receiver, and we've seen him make a move for a running back, both of whom are very explosive out of the gate, don't have great agility, but can really get downhill quickly. It is not a coincidence that both of the moves that the 49ers have made have pertained to the offensive side of the football. We know that the defense on this team is actually a bigger work in progress than the offense. So you might be wondering, well, why aren't they trading for defensive players? What's wrong there? Because the strategy has been to get younger, to renovate the defense while still contending. And the only way that you can do that is if your offense is the locomotive that pulls the train. The offense has to be the part of the football, the side of the football that is top 7, top 5 this year if the 49ers are going to reach their goals. And they have gone through injuries at running back. They've gone through injuries at wide receiver on that side of the football. And they have decided that they need to bolster both of these units before week 1 happens. And neither unit has been bolstered by a new number 1. This is not a replacement for Christian McCaffrey, similar to how Sky Moore was never meant to be a replacement for Brandon Ayuk or Jawan Jennings, but a supplement to both of those groups to make them more explosive, because this is a team. It's not just about individual star players at the top of the depth chart. And that's where Brian Robinson Jr. fits in. So the 49ers, 26-year-old running back, building some robust depth. Washington is paying for a large chunk of his salary. It's $3.6 million. One more year of team control. This is a 6th-round pick heading Washington's way. I apologize if I didn't mention that at the top. So this is more expensive than the Sky Moore trade, which was essentially free for the 49ers. That was a 2027 6-7 pick swap. This one is a 2026 6th-round pick heading from San Francisco to Washington. Now, where exactly that pick is in the 6th round will depend on how well the 49ers perform here in 2026. If they're really good, if they have one of the best records in the league, it'll be near the 7th. It'll be down at the bottom of the 6th round. If the 49ers are a bad team this year, then it's going to be higher up in the 6th round. The 6-7 pick swap and the Sky Moore trade, that one is much harder to project where exactly those picks are going to be, and it's negligible anyway because the 6-7 pick swap, but that's 2027. That's still 2 seasons away, so that's going to be contingent on 2026 performance. Those of you who are Anthony Reinhardt points out that the 49ers don't have a 2026 7th rounder. So he's wondering if this is more of a function of balancing out the value of the 49ers' least valuable pick in 2026. So the 49ers traded away their 2026 7th in what trade, Mike? Where did they lose that pick? Because 2027 is where they did the pick swap for Sky Moore. So that they're not going to have a 2027 6th. I mean, this is all... I know that we like getting into the weeds of the details, but they don't have a 2026 7th, so they're given their 2026 6th away to Washington instead. Brian Robinson Jr. is flying to the Bay Area as we speak. He's going to have to undergo a physical, just like Sky Moore had to undergo a physical. Now, yesterday at practice, Sky Moore was undergoing his physical while the 49ers were out on the field, and he went out there, and the head trainer, Dustin Perry, was working him out, just getting him ready, getting him warmed up for practice. And then about halfway through the session, Sky Moore, wearing jersey number 6, took the field. I don't think that this is going to be as much of a rush for Brian Robinson Jr. He can get all of that done today. The 49ers are going through a walkthrough. I'm sure that he will participate in the walkthrough if he's there in time. They're going to give him a crash course on a few plays, give him the ability to play tomorrow. That's Saturday night. I've got to turn around, fly right back across country, and be there for the game against Trey Lance, Jim Harbaugh, and the Chargers. And the 49ers can begin their evaluation, and they could begin their insertion of Brian Robinson Jr. into this lineup. They're obviously not going to play McCaffrey on Saturday. I'm not even 100% sure that they're going to play Robinson. They have to make sure that he has the pass protection and some of the very simple keys down in order to protect their quarterbacks. And, you know, running back, if he's off one beat in pass protection, you get your quarterback killed in this game. So it's really, really important for Brian Robinson Jr. to pass that crash course. And then he'll become one of the players who's going to be asked to step up in a situation of mounting injuries across the roster. This is up on the San Francisco Standard this morning. Couple things dropped this morning. My article on Sky Moore and Company. Chase Lucas is another player who's going to be asked to step up for the 49ers this year. You could check that one out. And the John Feliciano interview is out. John Feliciano joined us yesterday. Mike cut it up today. Didn't have to do any editing, really. He just had to make it look really nice, and he did. So Mike did a great job. John Feliciano wants to rejoin the 49ers. Long story short there, but we really got into the weeds talking about Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, Josh Allen. It was a fun chat with John. So that one might get a little bit buried because of this Brian Robinson Jr. news, but don't let that happen. Make sure you check it out because there's a lot of 49er stuff going on, even though there is not practice today. So 49ers trade a 6th round pick for Brian Robinson Jr., a I would say a bruising running back at 6'1", 225. He definitely qualifies. Bruising, not just because of 225, but because of that 1-5-3 10-yard split. He's only 26. Sky Moore is turning 25 next month. So 49ers get a couple players who are still in their physical primes on the younger end of the spectrum, trying to boost the depth of this offense at both receiver and running back, because it is an offense that needs to lead the way for the 49ers. The formula that I've long drawn for San Francisco, and this is something that I go back to their peak over the past few seasons, and that came in 2022 and 2023. 2022, the 49ers had the number, this is down the stretch, okay, with Brock Purdy at quarterback, the number 3 or 4 offense and the number 1 defense. In 2023, they had the number 1 offense and the number 10 defense. So I would actually argue that the 49ers were better in 2022 when they didn't make the Super Bowl and Brock Purdy hurt his elbow against the Eagles than they were in 2023. Why? Because they were more balanced. So anyway, the goal for 2025 is to ultimately find a spot where this defense is not bringing up the rear that it was in 2024 when they were number 29 in the league. They just sunk in 2024. The offense was still okay despite all the injuries in 2024, but it's very clear that the offense ahead of the defense. So they need to get this offense, in my estimation, this is what I've estimated for a while, I think they need to get it in the top 7. I would say top 5 would be much safer, and they need to figure out a way, smoke and mirrors if they need it, and Robert Saleh could be somebody who helps bring that along, find a way to get the defense in the top 20. Once you're in the top 20, then you could start thinking about the top half. Once you're in the top half, you could start thinking about the top 12. Top 12, you could start thinking about the top 10. I don't know if that's going to happen this year for the 49ers defense. I've said that throughout this entire offseason. They're very young. There are going to be growing pains for sure on the defensive side of the ball. But even if it doesn't, even if this remains a middle-of-the-pack unit defensively, if the offense can drill top 5 efficiency into the 49ers scorecard, this team can make the playoffs and this team can make some real noise because they've got an excellent quarterback in Brock Purdy. And that is the context of this trade for Brian Robinson Jr. That's why you have robust running back room. That's why you're trying to make the receiving room as strong as possible, even through all of these injuries. And you're gearing up for a 17-game marathon. So it's not just about week 1 in the receiving room, for example. Good week 1, they're not going to have Ayuk. They're not going to have Robinson. They may not have Watkins. They may not have Jennings. They may not have Cowing. They should have Gage. He should be back by then. But week 1 is not going to look the same if the 49ers have it their way as week 8, week 9, week 14. They want to have the vast majority of these guys back. I'm sure somebody else is going to get hurt, but they want to have the vast majority of these guys back so they have a fuller arsenal in the receiving room. And I think that if that happens, it actually looks decent, especially considering the fact that you have an excellent quarterback throwing to them in Brock Purdy. And the same thing at running back. They want to insulate themselves in a way that allows them to bruise their way through this 2025 season where injuries will be inevitable. And Brian Robinson Jr. certainly will help in that regard. Now, the cap situation is tight for the 49ers, really tight for the 49ers. You notice that when they acquired Sky Moore, it was, 1.5 million, second-round pick, final year of his rookie deal, did not hit a proven performance escalator. Brian Robinson Jr., because he hit that escalator, even as a third-round pick, 3.6 million, but that was why it was so important for the 49ers to go out and in this situation, have Washington pay part of the salary. Mike points out that the 49ers might have upgraded from Jordan Mason. And as far as a fit within their scheme, I would agree. I think that Jordan Mason was a bruising runner, but he was not nearly as fast in the first 10 yards with the burst off the line of scrimmage as Brian Robinson Jr. So I think you have somebody who actually fits what they're doing outside or inside zone wise, either zone blocking wise for the 49ers. And he's 26 and he's cheaper too. Jordan Mason cost Minnesota about $5 or $6 million per year. 49ers, by the way, through the Mason trade, they got a little bit of a pick swap there that allowed them to draft Marquis Siegel, who's in line to start at safety. So and Mason wasn't great catching the ball out of the backfield. Brian Robinson Jr., 36 receptions in 23, 25 receptions last year, has done much more. And this is important, as I was mentioning earlier. This is very important for the 49ers system. He's done much more out of the backfield. So the idea they upgraded this third running back spot over Jordan Mason, I think, is real if you consider it within the context of what they're doing in their system. And they've done it at a cheaper price. Assuming Washington's paying for about half of his salary, it's $1.8 million for the 49ers. Mason would have cost $6 million, 5 or 6, because they would have had to turn around, and he was a restricted free agent and matched what Minnesota did, and the 49ers weren't about to do that. Plus, you get a player like Marquis Siegel, who you probably aren't able to get without making that trade. So the 49ers playing a little bit of money ball in this way. Brian Robinson Jr. to San Francisco, Washington paying for a lot of it. Don't miss the John Feliciano video. That might get buried, but as soon as you're done with this, go watch John Feliciano. We go one-on-one. We talk about a lot over the course of a full hour. He wants Back with the 49ers video is here for you to watch right now. We'll talk to you soon.